In today's video, we're taking a look at the latest trade talk. We're looking at teams like the Maple Leafs, the Senators, and the Blackhawks. We also have big news out of Ottawa regarding a finally naming of a new captain. We have a suspension for Tampa Bay's Mikhail Sergachev and some injury updates as well. All that and more coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a variety of NHL news and rumors to talk about today. Let's kick things off with the big news out of the Ottawa Senators organization today. They've announced that Brady Tkachuk has been named captain, the 10th captain in franchise history. I know many of us kind of speculated that as long as he signed a longer-term deal, he would get that designation with the team. Many thought maybe they would do it right away, right after he signed. They opted not to. I'm not really sure exactly what went into it, but personally I think they want to give him time to have a few games and just kind of get his legs under him here a little bit, get situated and kind of settled back into a routine after missing training camp. Now that he's been back with the team, certainly looks like he's playing well, and certainly, like I said, there was no question to me that he deserved this opportunity to wear the C, wear it proud. But as he mentioned during his press conference earlier, acknowledging this, that it's going to still be, a team leadership mentality. Acknowledged, Thomas Chabot's really strong leadership and how they've really worked quite much in tandem together, and that's going to continue here. But I think the Senators get him on a good team long-term deal, and giving him the C now just makes it that much more worthwhile. So to me, I think they made a great decision. Now, as I mentioned, we also got news today that Mikhail Sergachev, the Lightning defenseman, has been suspended for 2 games following an illegal check to the head to Leafs forward Mitch Marner, which occurred last night. The Lightning were scheduled to play again here tonight, so obviously the league and player safety had to make a relatively quick decision on this, so the hearing took place a little bit earlier today, and now we already have our decision. But if you watch the play in slow-mo, essentially the Sergachev hit is pretty much the classic rule book definition of kind of going in and check to the head. He was only given a minor penalty on the play, but player safety has suspended him for 2 games, which I believe is the right thing to do. There's really no history. I'm not going to say there's really any, for sure intent or anything like that, but it was a dirty hit. And Marner did appear to be okay. He did continue playing in the game. But I guess when it comes to those, concussions and different head injuries, sometimes symptoms can present themselves later. So hopefully nothing like that happens, but certainly, a risky situation for sure involving Sergachev and Marner. So the suspension completely justified here, in my opinion. We also got word today that the Sharks appear to be sending top prospect and top young player who's really been having a solid start to the year, William Eklund, who's their top pick in the 2021 NHL draft. Looks like he's being reassigned back to Sweden. Obviously, he's had a good start. Many thought there was a good chance he would stick here, but I guess they've opted to send him back, which I guess for the longer-term outlook kind of makes some sense in a way. The Sharks, even though they had a good start, they've kind of become a little bit more, I wouldn't say they've cooled down, but they've certainly had a few losses in there. It's probably fair to say they're not likely going to contend this year. It might make more sense to, kind of push that contract for him back a little bit. He can play, a big role over in Sweden, continue developing, and just gives them more time, to kind of push his contract needs forward a little bit here. So I think from that perspective, it makes sense. But at the same time, he was arguably having an impact on the team. So I guess we'll see here, but that should be made official anytime if it hasn't been already. We also got word that Capitals forward Anthony Mantha is going to be out for an indefinite period of time. He suffered a shoulder injury, requires surgery. They don't have an exact time frame on that as of yet, but it sounds like it's going to be longer term. Jackets forward Patrick Laine is going to be out for about 4 to 6 weeks as well with an oblique strain. So that's certainly, a big blow to a Blue Jackets team, which is, obviously needs all the goals they can get. Obviously, Cole Sillinger, their top pick from the 21 NHL draft, was also notified that he actually is going to stay in the NHL and play his full rookie campaign this year. So another big decision that way. And we also got word that longtime NHL forward Marion Gaborik has officially announced his retirement. This really won't come as any surprise. He's been basically out with injury for the last number of years. It's been a while since he's played, but his career has been officially announced as retired. So no big surprise, but certainly want to wish him the best as he kind of rides off here into the sunset. Now, before we jump into the trade portion of our video today, we do need to pause for a moment and acknowledge our channel sponsor, Manscaped. Top Shelf Hockey is proud to be sponsored by Manscaped. And guess what? Hockey fans are buzzing because hockey is back. Want to know what else is buzzing? The Lawnmower 4.0 from our friends at Manscaped, who are the global leaders in male grooming, trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. I highly recommend the Performance Package 4.0, which includes their new state-of-the-art Lawnmower 4.0, as well as some other great features. The lawnmower itself has a 7,000 RPM motor, a new multifunction switch that can engage as a travel lock, gives you the ability to turn on an LED spotlight as well for a more precise shave. Also, as I mentioned on numerous occasions before, Manscaped is about much more than just a trimmer. They have everything, all aspects covered in male grooming, including some great formulations like their brand new ultra premium body wash to keep you smelling great all day long. It's certainly a big hit here. I absolutely love it. They also have other exfoliators and gels to keep all aspects of your grooming needs covered. I highly recommend you check out manscaped.com. Use promo code TSH for 20% off and free shipping. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com using promo code TSH. So thanks very much for watching that promotional content. As I mentioned, today we're looking at 3 separate teams. Of course, we had the big trade from the Jack Eichel situation finally get resolved yesterday. So we're moving on from that. I know one of the big things that Elliot Friedman was asked about afterwards is who are the next big dominoes to fall here? Like what other players are we should be monitoring the closest as the season moves along now that that's finally resolved and he's been traded. And he mentioned Dylan Strome and Erik Brannstrom, respectively, of Chicago in Ottawa. Of course, Dylan Strome has been kind of in and out of the lineup, hasn't played consistently. I understand that to a degree why they're doing this, but to me, they need goals. He provides an offensive playmaking ability. I just don't really see why he's being scratched so much for all these fourth-line type of players. The team has been asked about asset management, that kind of thing, if they're kind of holding him out for fear of him getting hurt to make sure they can get a trade. And they've, up to this point, denied that, but to me, there seems to be something more going on behind the scenes. I wouldn't be surprised to find out that that indeed is true. He was previously linked to a team like Ottawa. Obviously, Ottawa picked up Dylan Gambrell from San Jose instead. So at this point, doesn't look like it's likely that that moves ahead here. They do have Shane Pinto out injured, which is a lot of the cause for concern for their center position, and as well as Colin White. Pinto looks like he should be back probably it could be within a week. It could be a little bit longer, maybe a week to 10 days, but he's certainly started skating again. He's still in a non-contact jersey, so that's obviously impacting their decisions in that regard. But clearly, Strome doesn't seem to be generating a ton of interest around the league from what we're seeing, but he's certainly, like I said, he's young. He's not making a ton of money. He has certainly quite a history of being a prolific offensive player at the junior level. He's had his moments at the NHL where he's looked really good as well. So it's really hard to imagine that he won't land somewheres and get back to playing a regular everyday role, but we'll see where this goes. When it comes to the Senators, Erik Brannstrom is being mentioned mainly because, one, we saw him recently do an agency change. That's usually an indication that something's not happy with the player. Secondly, he's in the minors again, where many expected he would be a full-time defenseman this season. And at the same time, if you watch the Senators play recently, their D game in their own zone is a complete mess. And last year, they ended the season really strong. They were much better defensively. They were winning a lot of games. They had a really excellent stretch down to end the season. And there was a lot of hope and optimism that they could keep that up, that they could actually have a shot, maybe at contending for playoffs this year. But that has not carried over completely. The first few games of the year were decent, but defensively, things have really fallen off. And look at the guys they have in their lineup, like Nick Holden. They've got Josh Brown. Obviously, Nikita Zaitsev has been struggling mightily, you could say. I mean, to me, Zaitsev's never really been overly good, but he's gotten worse this year for sure. And of course, they brought in Michael Del Zotto, and that to me was a major mistake to give him a 2-year deal. And there's a reason why this player has been on 1-year deals for the last little while at league minimum. They give him 2 years, $2 million. I'm not sure who made that decision, but to me, that was brutal. Like, his foot speed out there is not good. Defensively, he's been hemmed in there. Like, he's okay on the power play. Like, offensively, he's not too bad, but still, like, I don't understand that decision. So they're playing these guys over a guy like Brannstrom in the minors, and obviously he's not too thrilled about it, I'm sure. So there's a lot of talk that maybe he's looking to be traded out of Ottawa, and perhaps it's a player that another team would be willing to give a chance to. Obviously, he's probably going to be a little bit reluctant to go just anywheres, but he's young. He doesn't really have a lot of say in those options. At this point, there hasn't really been any other teams linked to Erik Brannstrom, but given the fact that Friedman's made it known that he and Strome were likely the two of the players getting the most attention now that the Eklund trade is done, is telling, and that, it's likely something that we might see here and get a fresh start, because the Senators need other defensemen in here. If they're not going to be confident enough to play Brannstrom, then they need to trade to get somebody else who can play a top 4 role. It's desperately needed there to stabilize that D-core, and if Brannstrom's a trade chip to do it, then they have to move forward and get something done, because guys like Josh Brown, Nikita Zaitsev, Holden, and Michael Del Zotto, really none of them should be playing a prominent role at all. At most, it's bad enough you're going to have to use 1 or 2 of them on your third pair. So something has to be done in the nation's capital, or that team is going to struggle mightily again this year, even though they have a great forward group and they're getting better goaltending as of late. Now, I also want to touch on the Maple Leafs. I've seen rumors from a variety of sources, including Nick Kypreos. It's also been mentioned by Elliot Friedman and others as well, that there's quite a possibility that the Leafs do maybe trade a defenseman. There's believed that there's 2 defensemen that are not, I wouldn't say they're actively shopping them, but word is that they'd be available for trade and that the Leafs are looking to kind of shake things up. Essentially, it sounds like they're trying to get a little bit more playing time for Sandin and Liljegren, and that it might make sense to move on from one of these guys that are a little bit older, and maybe they just don't see them fitting long-term here with the future. So we're looking at Justin Holl and Travis Dermott. Not to guarantee that really that they both get traded, but it does sound like it's a real possibility that one of them being moved obviously would help create a little bit of cap flexibility. They've been giving more opportunity to Liljegren lately, so it's kind of a testing point to see where things go. But Justin Holl, even though he was a healthy scratch lot under Babcock a couple years ago, he played a ton last year and actually looked a lot better. But now this year, he certainly had his moments where he hasn't been good, and he was even a healthy scratch on occasion here this year as well. And Dermott, the same thing. Like, every time they seem to give more of an opportunity to Travis Dermott, and if there's injuries or, a necessity to move him up in the lineup, things don't typically go well. So, like, he's been good at times. He's not like he's a terrible NHL player, but when you're looking for somebody who's young, who might be able to take on a bigger role, I'm just not entirely convinced that he's that guy, at least not in Toronto. Maybe in another team, in a different system, maybe he would fit a little bit better. I know there was mention the Islanders and Arthur Staple apparently had referenced Dermott as a potential trade target for them, because it's no secret that Lou Lamoriello would like to add a top 4D as well. Not really sure Dermott's their guy, though. I think they're going to have to go for something a little bit more higher end, but we'll see what the Maple Leafs do. We know they're tight for cap space. They certainly are going to likely look to add at the deadline, and to move a player or two now to create that space might be something that they end up doing. So take a look for either Justin Holl or Travis Dermott to possibly be on the move from the Maple Leafs in the near future. Let me know your thoughts, everything discussed here today, down in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the latest news, rumors, and analysis on all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.